So, question came up about um, just the rental side of the business in general, right? And if you have people that are looking to rent, can you represent them and get paid on it? Yes. The answer is yes, simply put. And I would think about this uh, in the same way that you're going to think about representing a buyer, right? The objective becomes like, I need to establish what it is that they're looking for and what they want, how they want to go about it, what their budget is, and where they're looking and who's involved, and all the who, what, where, when, why, how types of questions applicable to their rental situation to determine like, okay, I can help you find that if it is something that you want to do as an agent. And once you do have somebody that you're like, yeah, no, they've got a budget and they seem like they're looking for something that exists in this market. And from there it's okay. Here's how we would help you do this. I will tell you on the rental side of the business for agents, you're gonna have to do a lot more hunting as the agent representing a tenant because I don't know. I'm probably low when I say that 95% of the rental transactions in our marketplace happen outside of the MLS. I'm probably low when I say 95% of the rental transactions happen outside of the MLS, right? So it's not just like you're going to go to the source where all these listings are, like the MLS, where it's more rare that a home is listed outside of it. So you got to be in tune with a lot of things. I mean, apartments.com. We do have the MLS, right? Apartments.com has a lot of rentals. Zillow has a lot of rentals. Facebook Marketplace. Chime in if anybody else knows of anything popular, but there's just a ton of rental websites, but as local as you can get to know what inventory is available when. And then it's helpful to have connections in property management, right? There could be some connection or some inventory options presented that way, but you really got to be the one to go hunt. So what I would, if you're going to get into an exclusive right to represent somebody as a tenant, one, I think it's, especially for new agents starting off, like I think it's a really good practice because there is some compensation tied to it. And more importantly, you're going to, build a database that you help somebody with a rental and you continue to communicate and stay in relationship with them after that, you're probably positioned pretty well to help them with their home purchase, especially in a market like where we are locally, where what the conversation I would have with anybody is, look, I got to explain something to you of most of the inventory isn't listed through realtors, and landlords don't want to work with realtors because they don't have to. So we operate in a market where landlords go direct to their tenants. They're not going to want to pay agents. And it's different than, say, New York City or San Francisco, for example, where these bigger markets, a lot of agents can just make a living off of renting apartments. And there's a lot of money into it. So, when we're in a market where that's not the case, like I need to, I'm going to have to hunt more. And, you're going to have to really gear up to have to pay the compensation associated with my services because the landlord's not going to do it. And also, I, don't want to weaken your case of a landlord wanting to work with you. So we just have to be, as a tenant, that is. We just have to be prepared to where you're going to have to pay me what I pay for this service of helping you find a rental, and that is X. Fill in the blank, your compensation. Right? And I'm phrasing it this way on purpose because with any compensation in real estate agent business, there is no standard, there is no set amount. It's all fully negotiable. We know that coming off of the lawsuit and all the changes to the industry last year. So really it works similar to working with a buyer in that you determine if you can help somebody. You're going to tell them how you're going to help them. Make sure that all of this works for both of you and there's a mutual decision to work together. make sure they're in agreement with what your compensation is, and then work by an agreement. I know
What
I just spoke
would you say
generally
for
and conceptually.
compensation?
Sorry, go ahead.
What's a general amount?
Yeah, so fair question. I think it's reasonable to charge 1 month's rent as compensation. Depending on amounts, right? Like now, if you're helping somebody find a $900 apartment, and it's going to take, if it takes a long time to do so, like is that worth your time for your business? That's up for you to decide, right? And I'm genuinely saying it this way. It's not just because this is recorded, but yeah, I mean, it's important to understand it's really whatever's worth it to you, and whatever's worth it to your tenant client in this situation that, sees that there's value in working with you to get them where they want to go. Because if you said, I charge 3 months rent, but a tenant's willing to pay it, and then you're providing a ton of value to get them in their next home, or, you know, maybe it's a cross the country move and they really need the boots on the ground and they trust you and they know that you're going to have your work cut out for you based on how they want to work with you. And you got to charge 3 months as a result of that. Any questions on rentals in general, I guess? Because I think it's, to take this conversation further, here's a great opportunity to build your database, right? So whether it be you know, you may want to push to list a rental and have that incoming um, stream of inquiries, right? That'll come with that as a database building play. A lot of this topic isn't necessarily about the compensation that is going to be due and payable, but more so like what you're doing to build the business from here, especially if you're communicating with them in a you know appropriate and value add type of fashion that makes them want to stay in relationship with you from here. So yeah, any rental business is more so not, you know not that I'm encouraging you to go. I mean, in theory, you could build a whole business in Rochester, New York, as a real estate agent off of rentals alone. Just gonna have to do a lot of them. Maybe you can do less of them over time because your value proposition is so strong that people will pay you more than the competition and than what you're getting previously. Anyhow, I don't want to spend too much time on rentals, but I think it's a great muscle building concept. It's a great, like, there is income tied to it. You just gotta be in agreement with the tenant to pay you most times, in my opinion. But most importantly, is a database building and a relationship building play. All right, so topic I want to touch on today is kind of intertwined to a couple things. One, um, overall, it's going to be the organization chart for your business. Okay, and that tool that you should be thinking of, and really having, even as a solo agent that's newer, starting a business. You should think of your business as a corporation to where you do have, um, you know, roles within your business that need to be filled by people or technology or tools some sort. You have elements of your business that you need to have uh, responsibility for in order to make it run. So, for example, when it comes to an organization chart as an individual real estate agent, you need a lender to refer people to. A couple of them. And these need to be key relationships that really, you know, you vet out and solidify. But a lender, an attorney, an insurance rep, a general contractor. You may want to go further and have somebody that does kitchens, have somebody that does electric, have somebody that does plumbing, have a roofer. Um, what I say, lender, attorney, contractors, insurance, a home inspector. right? Things like this that become integral pieces that you're having to work with and refer. You really got to look at as like, all right, how well are those pieces that I have already? Just A, do they exist? And B, am I seeing the rate of return on using them? Am I seeing the maximum effect from using doing business with these people in my organization chart for my corporation is the way to think of it. This is a corporate mentality that I want you to have of feeling like you have employees, even though you don't. You need to go about this business in that manner to where it's not just okay, I got to get my financing from somewhere for my people. No, it's more so how are they going to treat my people? What are they going to do for me and my business? How are they going to support me in other avenues? And is this the right partnership for me to lock in right now? Now, if you're hearing this as a new agent and thinking like, well, I haven't done any business yet, who's going to want to do business with me? Just understand that this is how this industry works as in a lot of respects is that we are, we become the lifeblood for multiple other industries. And the two obvious ones, there's a few obvious ones, but lending with, mortgage lenders and attorneys for closings, yeah, they don't exist without you funneling the business to them. So use, starting off fresh as an opportunity to really build the trust with these partnerships, because if you're approaching somebody and, you know, how they treat you now when you don't have a massive business is really truthful, right? It's been one thing to go out and find these partnerships and capitalize on when you got all the business in the world to refer and they know it. It's another one. It's like, you don't know me from Boo. I'm new. I'm starting off. I haven't done much. I've done one deal so far, but I'm looking to really get a good strategic partnership going. Are you the person? You're not going to get any more honest of a response of how that person operates their business and how they respond to you when you're starting off and looking to grow yours. So my point is to be selective, like have a process. Like this is something that you interview for and then really look to see a rate of return on. The investment is time, the investment is the referrals that you have to give. Like that's a form of currency. Just make sure you're getting the most return from it and that you're also holding it accountable. Now, tie this into an overall business planning type of theme and topic. Your business plan is going to have, the who element to it. Like who is handling this for me? Or who is supporting me? Who is my leverage here? Who is the expert to turn to? Who's going to champion this plan with you? From a mentality standpoint, like it's just really foolish at this point between technology and how people operate, right? To go at something completely on your own. To leverage and utilize the resources that you have around them. I mean, you got to build them at first. I don't want to make this about me at all, but like I'll give you an example. Like each of you have me as a coach, as an accountability partner, as a transactional resource, as a compliance resource, as a contractual resource, right? Like there's all these departments, within your business, and who do you have for each of them? Then to take it further with me as the example with a lot of different things, like get the rate of return from it. Get your money's worth, bluntly. Put me to work. Use it how you need to use it. take it further, institute more accountability for yourself and help me help you with that. But I don't, I hope you're thinking of the business this way and that you are a business owner. If you're hearing this, whether live or recorded, you're hearing it because you are a business owner. Treat this that way. Have a plan. Have people tied to that plan that become integral for integrating and your success.
Do you have a suggestion for picking like lenders, for example? I've worked with a couple and I don't really know if I want to continue. So how should I like go about like meeting
Yeah,
new
great
lenders?
question. I think first thing I'll say is I think it's pretty easy to find out like, who has a good reputation, right? Locally. And that becomes important as believe me, I wish the market was less competitive, but in a way I don't because you've heard me say it before probably, but you don't want to see what a buyer's market looks like. You don't want to deal with a buyer's market. So as difficult as this market is, like the grass really doesn't get too much greener. Okay. So with that said, having a lender that positions a buyer to be competitive, even if it is an opinion and subjective and not necessarily a hard truth. Well, perception in a competitive market does become a hard truth in a way, right? So finding out you know, who would position your buyers to be competitive and for the most part, local lending institutions will do that. From there, again, continue to find out like, hey, who do you refer? Who do you like? Who do you not like? Who do you work with? Like, find out from your peers. And obviously, you're in a great place to easily do that. But most effectively, like I was alluding to before, like I would treat this as an interview process and look to see how they respond to you. Because if somebody blows you off, if somebody doesn't call you back in a timely manner, if somebody, has a crappy attitude because you're newer and they're not excited to work with you because they're like, oh, okay, let me know when you got something, then that's probably not the person. You got somebody who's willing to give you time, who's willing to take you to coffee, who's willing to, inform you, put you on their, newsletter list or whatever, and just, you know, you just get a good vibe from, right? And they have a good industry reputation. That's the person. But really treat it as an interview. Be selective. Be arrogant. Be incredibly arrogant with this process. Hey, you may not have all the business in the world right now, but you will. And if they treat you like a jerk now, well, they're going to be sorry that they did. That's the mentality. But make sure that you're purposeful to really set this up for yourself. Because you really got two options, right? It's like you do this ahead of time and you're teed up for when you need it. You're not scrambling, right? Or it's like you're scrambling. Because if you're hearing this and haven't done a deal yet, and all of a sudden you get the first one and it kind of falls into your lap, and now it's like, oh, I don't have an attorney. Like that's a bad look when your client's like, well, I need an attorney, right? Who do you recommend? You're like, well, let me find out. What do you mean find out? Thought this is what you do. Could be the response. Questions, thoughts? As far as the tool itself, like it, there's nothing that I would necessarily train on. That like, hey, here's the format you need to keep with this. You know, a lot of people will just use like a bubble chart, right? Of like there's you and then there's all these bubbles coming off you. Sometimes, there'll be additional people underneath whatever topic, but if you just want to list positions and names next to it, you can see that working too. But take a process, build something, because like visually when you're looking at the final draft of your plan that you're going to use, and then you have the organization chart of key people in your business that are going to help you implement that plan side by side, that becomes pretty powerful. All right, segue into a similar topic, but you know, I'm when I zoom all the way out, I'm thinking about just business owners in general and how important they are to the overall community, right? But how important they're going to be to your database and your business in general, in the sense of if you really get purposeful with capitalizing on a focus of relationships that are with other business owners local to our community, to your community, like that becomes incredibly powerful because you're able to have a different level of conversation with them compared to just somebody who's not in that space or just retired. Because when you're able to have a conversation with somebody, it's like, tell me about your business. Tell me who your ideal clientele is. Tell me what I can do to get them to you. How can we work together to where I can refer people to you? Well, human nature is reciprocal for good people anyway. You scratch somebody else's back, they're going to look to scratch yours. And if you build your database and you build your lead generation tactics and pursuit and effort to focus on business owners, like that can open up a lot of doors. One is, I think the most obvious is like this concept of having a robust vendor, stuff around the home type of database. I think when you go further, it's just business owner in general, like you get more possibilities of what can be beneficial for your people and for you to know other people in other industries to where it's, I guess, for example, like the local florist and having a relationship with that type of business owner. Okay, sure, it may not directly benefit real estate in terms of the home itself, but I mean, I guess in a way it can because flowers go in homes and outside of them. But when you're able to just know people in the community that you're doing business in and tie people that you're helping establish home for themselves in said community to other, businesses that are functioning, make the community functional as a whole. When you're the connector, or when you have the ability to do so, like you can do business at a whole nother level. But also like having a robust, list of relationships or relationships in general with other business owners allows you to provide a unique set of value to everybody in your database. It's really tough to like go at a lead generation strategy of like, hey, I know people, like, what do you need so that I can find somebody to help. So for example, to get specific with that strategy is like, hey, I know, fall's around. You got any fall projects around the house before winter comes? I may know somebody I can link you with. Well, if you don't have the people, like tough to do that strategy. So you don't want to do a strategy for lead generation that leads to a result. Like, yeah, actually, I need somebody that does leaf cleanup, and you don't have anybody. And now you're either scrambling or looking really bad when you report to back to them. Like, no, sorry, I don't have that guy. But didn't you just call me about stuff around the house during fall before the winter, and you could help with that? But you don't have one of the most obvious ones.
So my cousin owns like it's called Bird Home Health, where they help people. Like, it's like when a family member takes care of their elderly family member and they get paid
Yeah,
for it.
yeah.
How can I don't know, how should I approach that? I feel like,
So it's like at-home care.
yeah.
So I would approach, so this is your cousin, you said?
Well, my cousin's husband, so technically, yeah.
Do you know him super well?
Yeah, but my cousin's uncle is a real estate agent. He owns his own brokerage, so that's kind of that there.
Okay. Wonder when your cousin's uncle has called him last to say, hey, tell me about your business. I know this is a topic because, generationally, people get older, they need your service, so good for you. Seems like you're positioned well. Who's your ideal clientele? Where do you like to work? What do I need to know in terms of before I look to make a connection? At its surface, like I guess, don't get me wrong, I don't want to stop anybody from being aggressive, right? And just all in one swoop trying to do that and also implement a strategy to market their business or lead generate with some sort of you know special offer that you have, unique to your people that you're able to get out with their permission, right? God, that would be the next level of it, right? It's like, hey, I think we've got common interests here. Well, they're doing at home care.
Yeah, I don't really know
It's
what the
like common interest if
situations are.
they're going into nursing homes where it's like, hey, we need housing inventory. You need people to go in nursing homes. How do we work together?
Yeah, well, the
Different topic,
younger person could be, moving into that home. I don't know.
but it just becomes this is we've spent a little bit of time on like the generational aspect that's going to exist for a long time to come, right? The data was that roughly 70 to 75% of home sellers and buyers are over the age of 48 years old, I believe it was. So, like, generational topics become valuable from the standpoint of, like, okay, it may not be, it may not really hit, your cousin's business may not hit with, that generation themselves, but it's going to hit with the generation under them that has to take care of their parents, right? So if you're finding a way to like get that message out there or finding a way to make it known, like say you had me in your database and over time I was just tuned in and made present to like all the cool things that are relative that you do. And if that's one of them, it's like eventually like my wheels are going to turn to where it's like my parents are older. I'm going to need help with this. At least get the wheels turning where it's like, huh, rather than me going over there 4 times a day, maybe somebody's going 3 and I'm going once. I don't know. But it plays. It's a topic that's, it's an industry that's going to play out. It's not necessarily specific to real estate, but specific to life. Our business becomes just relationships and communicating to the relationships that we have. The more things that you can communicate or be a resource to, the better off you are. And that's why this build your database with as many business owners as possible becomes critical. Business owners like to do business with other business owners. And if you're the one that's, hey, how do I do business with you? You're playing a numbers game to where over time things are going to stick because, like, you know what? You've sent me business. Now it's my turn. It just has to happen that way, right? But also tie it into your plan itself, right? Like say your plan for your business is to have a closing gift for each client. Now you're going through that list of local business owners that could be a possibility of providing a closing gift, from their business, that is. Whether it be a restaurant, whether it be a lawn care company, maybe buy somebody their first 3 months of lawn care next summer as a closing gift. Or the whole contract. I don't know. Whatever the budget calls for. But you can really, make a marketing splash with it too, right? In terms of, um, the partnership element of how you, say, you're marketing yourself, you're marketing their business together, and it goes out to your database, and say there's a built-in discount to it. This came from Lauren, you were there, I think, right, with Cody Gibson a couple months ago, where how do you phrase that? Sure.
He said, I think he said like I'm covering, I've taken care of 20% or whatever.
I took care of part of this. So it's like snowplow contractor coming up for the winter time. Say if you know somebody who covers grease, you go to your grease database and say, "Hey, I've got somebody that is willing to plow your driveway. Usually charges this. I can get it to you for this, and I'm taking care of the difference." Versus just, I've got this guy to give me a 10% discount. It's the same thing. It's the wording of it. You're not being you're not lying because you took care of getting that discount. Yeah, maybe you don't want to say I paid for this, but think at that level. Get things going, and you want to host an event. Other businesses like to sponsor events where other people are. Go back to the org chart. Hosting an event should really never cost you too much money as the real estate agent business owner, because you have vendors, or you have partners and attorney relationships and lending partnerships, etc., where you send business to, or now it's their time to scratch your back. It's all ethical. It's all, part of business. If it feels like dirty for any reason, like, just understand they're expecting it. You could either be the one that asks and get what you deserve or have earned. Maybe there's rejection, but you can either ask or don't ask, and they won't get it. All right. Last topic for the day is combo of AI and social media. Let's start with, I'll send this out, but one of the playbooks that just came out from the, what are we doing here? MREA podcast is from Marcus Sheridan, who was the AI guru that was at Mega Camp. Apologize, there it is. The AI expert that was at Mega Camp in Austin in August, and really, like, it's funny, like KW tends to blaze the trail, and they did here, because like the conversation that was had in August at Mega Camp is like, I'm seeing a lot of rumblings, around the same 3-4 months later across the industry, right? So just a cool little tidbit. Just understand that that's how our boy Gary and crew and company are thinking about things and looking to provide value to us. Is at that really trailblazing, industry leading type of level. So here's kind of Marcus's, I guess, like, take on how to go about well, let me back up. If you want to play the AI game in order to show up on the search, right? Like if you want to play what was an SEO game with Google, right? And you want to play that now with AI and adapt to what is, changing behavior to where, search engine type stuff or just consumer search is functioning at more of a conversational level and functioning through AI sources seems to be the trend and the future of that industry. Well, if you want to play the game to where you're the agent that's going to show up when the robots go searching for the best realtor to use in Rochester, for example, you have to play that by producing content. And you had to play that one by producing a ton of content, but then also to produce content that I think the gist of what Marcus is saying here is to really kind of go against the grain of average or comfortable or normal, right? And he's laid out the four pillars of a known and trusted brand that ultimately would show up when AI is searching. And he's got a common theme here, right? Say online what others aren't saying. Show what others aren't showing. Sell your brand in ways that others are not. Be more human than others are willing to be. So it's really like doing things that, you know, aren't average, aren't standard, aren't expected really. And, I think this framework here that's laid out isn't applied just to AI. You can really kind of apply it to any marketing or really any communication strategy that you have, but specific to marketing, specific to social media, specific to how all that can contribute to um, growing your business from that standpoint of okay, are you going to be the one that shows up on the search? This would be the framework to follow. To take it a step further and get specific, I shared this when we came back from Mega Camp in August. This is from Marcus as well. And I'll share this in the recap email that goes out, but here's all the topics that, you could hit on in order to stand out and be different. And really where these topics come from or to go towards the topics that and concepts that most marketers or business owners or suppliers, whatever, are kind of hesitant to get into, right? Like cost and pricing, from an outbound, upfront type of dynamic, like problems, objections, and fears. Like, let me tell you about the problems and the fears that you may have with my product or my market or, that sort of dynamic. Comparison-based marketing is a big, you know, gets the views, gets the clicks, ratings and reviews, community related stuff, best of, top of, most, whatever. Show others what show what others won't show, right? Like reasons not to buy this house. In a world where everybody is, trying to influence in order to sell, like here's kind of the against the grain approach where it's, let me influence what people based on what people aren't talking about. Now, I'll say this to provide clarity on this whole AI, like, oh my God, I got to worry about showing up in the algorithm and the robots finding me type of thing. How do I want to say this? I wholeheartedly believe that you could be a very successful real estate agent, business owner uh, by communicating directly with your community and your database of people and not going at the business where it's like I got to show up for AI to pick up on me in order to get the business. I truly believe that this can be like you know just a really focused approach, and your people is who you look to specialize with, and who you look to be present with, and who you look to be consistent with. Now, I do think, my thinking on this has evolved, full disclosure, but I do think that, the perfect type of balance does have to exist where, there is some sort of combination of lead generation, for lack of a better term, and marketing. However, I do feel strongly that if you did zero marketing and you were consistent and purposeful and really consistent and really effective just through, staying in relationship with people, that you could be pretty successful. I don't believe that you can do zero of that and all marketing and be wildly successful or reach true potential is what I should say. So I do feel there's a really important balance to have of like marketing and lead generation, but the concept of lead generation based and marketing enhanced is always going to reign true. I don't think you reach the same level of success if you're just marketing based and, dealing with the results of that compared to, a combination approach of both, you and your people and your relationships and your effort towards that and your communication towards that, combined with, you know, marketing that creates a presence to you and a consistent presence that, hopefully that's outside of those like, wow, you're directly you know, in my ear right now on the phone or in my face at the coffee shop or in my DMs that you slid into, whatever. But I also like, I don't necessarily think you need to go out and play the game that I described of like, okay, you guys, we got a tall task. You got to show up when AI is searching, when the robots are searching. Otherwise, you don't stand a chance in this industry. I don't believe that. It's an option for how to go about things, but you don't need to, it's not a prerequisite to success in reaching your goals is to be the one that the robots name as a real estate resources choice. Don't get me wrong, there's a path to be able to do that. There's a formula for it. You'll have the list of content to produce in order to give yourself a shot at it. You've got the tools in AI themselves to produce this content at a high level and not have to do it all by yourself, word by word, page by page, post by post. But I don't feel that should be the focus. But what can you do to bring valuable content to your people? I think that's a really healthy focus. And if that, allows you to show up on AI searches while you're doing it, game on. Game on.